Alright, on to song number 9, Old Man and Sea. The first thing to notice is that this song has a pretty unique structure. There are really only two distinct parts in the song. The first one, which I'll call part A, goes something like this. There are minor variations, but this is the gist of it. And the second part, which I'll call part B, goes like this. Again, minor variations, but it sticks pretty close to that. These two sections make up the entire song. So the song starts with 2 repetitions of part A, followed by 2 repetitions of part B. Then there is 1 more repetition of part A, 2 more repetitions of part B, and finally it ends with 1 final repetition of part A. This is unusual because pop songs usually will have more parts than just A and B. For example, very often there is a little bridge that connects the verse and the chorus. For an example of the bridge, you can refer back to the analysis for song number 2, Hell. Also, pop songs generally tend to have a middle part, which generally happens after the second repetition of the chorus and before the final repetition of the chorus. The middle part is sandwiched between the 2 choruses and generally will use a different set of chords that create more tension before the final chorus kicks in. This is something we've talked about before too during the review for Joker's Actor and GEM's Bubble. So this song actually does away with all of that. It has no bridges, no intermissions. It's just A, B, B, A, B, B, A. Now, you might remember in my reaction video for Gloria, I did mention that Gloria also has a simple structure. There it was like A, B, 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 B. But even then, notice that Gloria ended with the chorus. As with the vast majority of pop songs, whenever you hear a pop song, you would pretty much always expect it to end with the chorus. But this song actually breaks that rule. It ends with the A part, which is what we started with. So yeah, definitely quite a unique structure, and we'll get back to this. Next, let's do the exercise of finding out what scale we're using. So here it suffices to just play out each part and see what notes are being used. For the A part, we have and that's enough to cover all the notes on the scale. So in this case, the root note is going to be the C, and notice that we used a flat 3 and a flat 7. So basically, that gives us the C minor scale with a sharp 6. However, once we get to the B part, we have this. Notice here, not only are we using the flat 3 and the flat 7, we also ended up using the flat 6 as well. And that means the B part uses the full minor scale. So what we have here is not only the song switches between A part and B part in terms of melody, each of these parts also uses a distinct scale. And this distinction remains consistent throughout the song. So the natural question is, why did GEM design this song in these particular ways? This is where the interpretation comes in. If you look at the MV, the sequence of events that happens here is, first you have this guy working in his lab while Gloria is wandering through the wasteland. Then the guy turns on the machine, which causes the door to appear in front of Gloria, and it ends with Gloria being brought over to the guy's world. Now, does that sound familiar at all? The MV is about 2 worlds, the guy's world and Gloria's world. The perspective switches between these 2 worlds, and we end the story exactly where we started, in the guy's lab. if you consider the A part of the song to be representative of the guy's world, and the B part of the song to be representative of Gloria's world, then the structure and pacing of the MV matches the structure and pacing of the song perfectly. The usage of two different scales also fits the idea that each part represents a distinct world in the MV. Both of the scales are based on C minor. One of them is simply the C minor without any changes, and the other one is C minor but with a sharp 6. These are related and very similar scales with some small differences between them. This matches the situation with the two worlds that we have, where the virtual world is built to be a facsimile of the real world, with many similarities but also some differences. The scale used for the B part, being a pure minor, will sound more emotional and more sad, and this accurately represents Gloria's feeling as she wanders the wasteland. Whereas the scale used for the A part, by having that sharp 6, it gets a more exotic, mysterious, and hopeful feeling, which is also an accurate description of the real world as Gloria is about to enter it. So I think the theme in this MV, having two worlds collide and eventually merging with each other, neatly explains why the song is written and structured the way it is.